All right, welcome back, everyone, for a new episode of Hidden Gems. This is the video series where I talk about those books that are still probably tucked away in those back issue boxes. These are kind of those undervalued, underappreciated, forgotten about types of weird little books that I'm kind of interested in and like digging into a little bit. These aren't the hot books, these aren't flashy things based off of recent news announcements, spec, that type of deal. This is more of, like I said, just that undervalued, forgotten about things you might be able to find for cheap because people just aren't thinking about these oddball things right now. That said, this week I have something a little bit different. I'm actually using Hidden Gems to kind of backdoor pilot an actual idea I had to do something else that I was covering. I actually was doing these as shorts. When I first started doing shorts, I had a whole plan, but that was just a lot of work. So I pivoted away from doing those short little 1 minute videos to the cover runs and things like that I've been doing now. Hopefully you're enjoying those. If you got any suggestions, please let me know in the comments down below. But while this might end up being a little special here and there that I do every once in a while, it also might just be a regular ongoing segment in Hidden Gems going forward. But for this week, I'm going to focus in on one specific topic, and that topic is going to be last issues, those final issues. So this was a series I was thinking of trying to do called The Last to Know, which are those last issue books that you should be paying attention to or should know about. So this way, when you're digging in those boxes, you know what those last issues are, because a lot of times they trade at a premium. Just for being lower print, harder to find, rarer, whatever you want to call it. Just a lot of those final issues are valued a little bit more than the rest of the run. And here's going to be a small selection of some books I got for you this week, but I got a ton more that we could cover going forward. So that's why I'm not sure if this will be a show all of its own or just, like I said, a new segment that we're just going to roll into Hidden Gems going forward. But at least for today, we are only going to do these last issues. So hopefully you're on board for that. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. We are getting closer and closer to 2,500 subs every day. And once we hit 2,500, we'll be doing a few more giveaways. So if you like free stuff, let's keep growing the channel a little bit more. And check out the memberships. It's got members only content dropping a couple of times a week as well. And yeah, just having a whole lot of fun doing all of this content for you guys. So hopefully you're still enjoying it. And if you want to see what final issues I think you need to be aware of, just hang on for a few seconds after this intro and I will be right back. All right, so as I was saying, this week's Hidden Gems has been hijacked by The Last to Know. So these are all going to be final issues that you should be aware of when you're out there digging in those boxes. I might have covered some of these before on other shows and other things that I brought up before, dollar bin digging, etc. But I'm just going to give you a small selection of books. I think I got a dozen for you right now to start with. And like I said, I got plenty more, and we can do this a couple more times if you guys are into it. So let me know what you think in the comments. That said, let's start off with let's some animated stuff. Let's go to some weird little animated stuff, more in the kiddie section, things you might be able to find in those kids books that are just kind of tucked in boxes under like the t-shirt area of your LCS. You know, those things are just ignored, forgotten about. Maybe they were even near the spinner rack that's got beaten up Archies, etc. All those old books. Just go looking, because you never know what you might find in those the kids section of the comic book store. So we're going to start off with Animaniacs. I was a big fan of the show. I know they brought it back as well, but Animaniacs, the comic book, the final issue, issue 59, does better than many in the run because, again, it's the final issue. Its last issues generally have a lower print run because a lot of times they're not planned to end. It's not like a storyline season ending type of deal. It's just, readership goes down as months go on and they decide to cancel things. And sometimes they end abruptly. Sometimes they actually get a final issue to wrap things up. But by and large, those last issues are harder to find than a lot in the run. So stop harping on that point. I know I'm going to get on with it and go to what does this book sell for? Well, the Animaniacs 59 can sell for anywhere as cheap as, look, somebody stole one for $2.67. But even when I say they stole it, that shipping was out of the UK. And it was like $27. So if they bought it in the US, that was still a $30 purchase. So don't be fooled by it just being $2.67. That was more likely a $30 purchase. So best offer on $20. There's a $75 sale raw, $15. I mean, realistically, this used to be consistently in that $40 to $50 range. Now it's kind of all over the place. You can see it's some 20, some above 50, but I would say your strong the strong case could be made if it's a decent copy that's not too banged up. It's probably at least $30 to $40 if you can find one in a box. And when we look at what's available, we can see, well, copies can be anywhere from $20, $80 raw, all the way up to somebody has one listed for $250 raw. I mean, that's an outlier as well, but I just wanted to show it because, again, there's a wide range on books like this that you never know. So all I'm saying is, if you can find this for cheap enough, consider it. But also consider that it could be a while, it could be a while before you can actually move it if you're trying to buy it to flip it, because there's a lot of weird competition out there with a wide ranging of prices. So until the market settles in on a consistent price, you might have to be a little patient. But again, if you find it for cheap enough, if this is in a box for $5-10, you might want to consider it because you might make a few down the line. That said, we're going to stick in the animated area for just a tiny bit. We're going to move off from Animaniacs and go to another animated series that's very, very popular, and it's Batman. Batman Gotham Adventures. It's going out with a bang with its final issue 60 of this particular animated series run. Pretty cool. You got Joker, you got Batman. Awesome cover, black cover, gonna be hard to get. Newsstands, again, usually command a premium, especially with these kids' books, because they're on spinner racks, they're in, Barnes and Nobles, they were in bookstores and things like that, and people would just beat them up and flip through them. But this book in particular, this number 60, does okay. I mean, it's not gonna make you rich, but $30 raw, best offer on $25. So, right, you could say about 20 to $30 is what's been selling for. Asking prices. Actually, it's a little bit cheaper. There's $13 copies, and there's some $20 copies, and then there's some $35 copies. So you can see here, anywhere in like that $15 to $30 kind of range is really where this one's kind of sitting. So again, depending where you find these things, whether they be in just a cheap back issue box, you're paying cover price, you find them in an old bookstore somewhere, or you find them at a dollar bin, this is what I'm trying to remind you guys. That's the whole point of why I tell you about these books when I'm doing like hidden gems and whatnot. It's not because I'm trying to create FOMO. I'm not saying you go pay market price for any of this stuff. I'm just pointing out where the market is on a lot of these books that you might be able to dig out of a box, because again, they're just kind of ignored, forgotten about, and just like underappreciated. So they could be underpriced in a lot of places. So just be aware of them when you go out there digging. Sticking in the world of animation, we're going to Superman this time. So Superman also had a comic book, also had the cartoon series. So the Superman adventures from the animated series also ended in the 60s. Issue 66 is the final issue of this comic book run. And this one, again, it's kind of in that same ballpark as the Batman. You can see recent sales, 10 to 20 bucks. Yeah, not too bad for something like this. Pretty cool, classic Superman cover. Asking prices anywhere from like 23, 35, all the way up to 70 bucks. So once again, looking in that $20 to $30 kind of range is what you might be able to get for this final issue of Superman Adventures. Now, those are for the cartoons. Let's pivot on over to just a regular DC universe. And we're going to take Batman and we're going to take Superman and we're going to put them together. And we're going to look at the Superman Batman run that ran all the way up to issue 87. And once again, we wrap it up with a Joker cover. They like to end these things with a bang and some of their big villains. So here we are with another Joker cover on a Batman, Batman Superman book, actually. But this one, that's okay if you can find it out there. I mean, $12 to $25 is the going rate for the recent sales. So like I said, if you find this in a dollar box, you're flipping through that Batman Superman run. And yeah, there's those couple of oddball issues people spec'd on for some weird first appearances and, first, Supergirl, things like that. But outside of that, look for the last issues. That's what I'm saying. So you got to know where the last issues are and when they end, because 87 is an oddball number. They're not always going to be round numbers like, oh, it ended at issue 100. They could be oddball numbers like this. What was this? 87. The other one was 66. And then the preceding issues right before these generally have a little bit of a premium as well. So you might want to pay attention to those as well. So while we're talking only about the final issues, you might want to also keep an eye out for those issues very close to the end, because by and large, those also trade for a little bit of a premium for the same reasons as the final issue, because readership was going down, print runs were going down, a little bit harder to find, a little bit less out there. That said, the asking prices, let's stick here for too long. The asking price is $15 to $25, really, for a raw copy of this. Once again, not too expensive. You're not going to get rich off a lot of these books, but they're fun little books to go and dig for. Fun little treasures and hidden gems that you can go and dig out. And here's another one. Like I said, you could probably find this for a few bucks out there. Up next, we're sticking with DC. I actually have a lot of DC on this first go-round list because, I don't know. This is where I was at when I was coming through with my initial list, and we kind of stuck with a lot of DC. So with that, we're sticking in the DC Comics universe with Scooby Apocalypse. Remember this run? This is one that kind of like I don't want to say modernize the Scooby-Doo comic books, but they did. I mean, Jim Lee was even doing covers for a good while there in the beginning. Some pretty cool variants that ran through that issue as well. But the series eventually ended, and it ended with issue 36. See right there on the cover, it says final issue, Scooby Apocalypse. Plus, you got an all-new Animaniacs adventure in the back. But 2 covers on this one. So this is the cover A. You also want to keep an eye out for the cover B, which is that limited trade dress thing that DC is still doing to this day. But there's the 2 covers that you want to keep an eye out for. And this book will do okay if you could find it. Recent copy sold. Cheapest $20 up to like $36. A couple other $30 sales in there. So $20 to $30 or $20 to $40 even, depending on the timing of when you get to sell this thing, is where this Scooby book is at. So if you can find this last issue for Scooby Apocalypse, you might make a few bucks. Because like I said, here are the asking prices again in that $20 to $40 kind of range. So either cover. It doesn't seem to be one cover being more valued over the other. So either way you go, you're probably in good shape. Personally, I think the cover A, since it says final issue, would be the one I would prefer to find. But hey, you can find either one. It's probably worth your time to grab it if it's cheap enough. Up next, we are going to go to the main man. Still, more speculation going that we're going to get a Lobo something or other, whether it's Jason Momoa or anything else, or somebody else who's going to play him in James Gunn's new DC universe. Lobo. His first appearance on Mega Man 3 is obviously selling pretty well recently. It's made my Hot 10, and I'm watching it. But don't forget the final issue of his original ongoing series, issue 64. DC likes to make it to right around 60 and then just kind of end things. You'll notice here, there's a theme. Because, I mean, what? Were the Gotham Adventures like 60, 66 for Superman, 59 for Animaniacs, almost made it, 64 here. What was the last issue we just looked at? Oh, that's 36. Anyway, Lobo. You got a demon, Etrigan, the demon, co-starring here in this issue. Also, look out for the couple issues before this one. Again, like I said, those final issues are also worth your time. But issue 64 is the last Lobo. This one sold for more back in the day. It's actually come down from where I remember it, because you can see, look, somebody's got a copy for $15, $34 sales, and then there's a sale of the final 2 issues, 63 and 64 together, for $50. This used to always be like $40 to $50 from when I remember it. And that's why I always look for it. Like I said, these are just weird things. And I'm going to flip into a box. I find a little patch of Lobos. I'm like, well, is 64 in here? 63 maybe? I look for those late run issues because, again, they generally have a value to them. So just giving that information out to you guys so you know it as well. Asking prices, 35 to 65. So asking prices are still kind of in that range of where I remember it. And you can see sometimes it could sell for cheaper if they sneak under those numbers. But 35 to 65 seems to be the going rate of what people are asking for it on the internet. So with that, we got another DC final issue and another issue 60. I don't know why. Yeah, 5 years. It's almost like they want to hit that syndication number. 60 issues, if it's monthly, is about 5 years. So 5 seasons was the magic number for TV shows back in the day, where you hit syndication if you got to 100 episodes, which was generally like 5 seasons. Anyway, side note, weird rabbit hole to go down, but Deathstroke, number 60, DOA. This is the final issue of this particular run. There was a couple more runs of volumes of Deathstroke following this too, but this was the initial run. Had the first appearance of Rose, his daughter, like in that early issue was like 10. This Deathstroke the Terminator, I believe, is what this run started out as. But issue 60 is the final of that series and the longest running Deathstroke series I think that they've had. But copies sold for $24, $34, $130 for a CGC 9.8 as well, just to give you some numbers around this if you find it. Asking prices about $24 to $30. So you can see the selling and the asks are pretty consistent right now. So this is like a $25 to $35 kind of book if you could find it. Obviously depending on the grade. Decent grade, that's probably what you're expecting you can get. So if you find it for cheaper, keep that in mind, because that's the whole point of this. Find these for cheaper out there by digging. I'm not telling you to go buy these online, not telling you to pay these market prices. I'm telling you, just know these books, know their values. So when you're digging in a box, whether it be a dollar box or just a regular back issue box, you know its value roughly, so you know what to do with it and know whether you should pick it up or not. That said, moving on, but we're still in the DC side of things, but we're going to another corner of the DC universe. We're going to go dip our toe into the Milestone corner of the DC universe, because all of those Milestone books, those final issues, are pretty worth your time if you can find them. But we're not going to do them all. I was going to hit up 2 for today. We can do a couple of the other series later. But for today, we're going to take a look at Blood Syndicate, extra size final issue. Bang, you're dead right there on the cover. Pretty cool. Little team group here. Way back in the day. I mean, I shouldn't say way back in the day. This is what, like, well, I guess the 90s are way back in the day. I'm old. I'm getting old. So it doesn't seem like all that long ago to me, but it was. That said, this book, if you can see it, sells for about $40. Look, $38, $40, $22, but that one had like $30 shipping out of the UK. So yeah, $40 or $50. This thing is consistently selling for. All of those sales were in February, so just within the last month or so. Available copies are asking $45, $55, $80, all for raw copies. So once again, even that $80 sale, it's listed as fine. It's a fine copy. It's not even a near mint plus. These things are just tough to find. It wasn't a high print run on a lot of these books, so they're just kind of hard to find. And if you could find them, as I said, know the numbers so you know which ones you can grab. Because the rest of it, there's a lot that's not worth anything. That's why they're in cheap boxes and dollar boxes. But if you can find these, I don't want to say key, because it's not a key. It's just a final issue. It's just the last issue. It's the last to know. So that's more the idea here. But we're going to go on to the next one, which is Icon. It's the only other one I'm going to cover for this week. Like I said, we can get the static, we can get the hardware, and the rest of the Milestone universe. But we're just going to go to Icon now. This is the final issue here. I think this is issue 34, 33. This one didn't make it as far as the other ones. So we're not hitting the 60s like I was mentioning early on in the show. But here we go. Oh, yeah, 42. Sorry, not 30s. 42. So issue 42 is the final issue of Icon. You can see one sold for $20, which ain't too bad. And that was all the way back in January. But that's the only one I could find that sold. But the asking prices are, again, $20, $40, $50, all raw. So still kind of in that same range as that Blood Syndicate, really. Now, I'll finally move away from DC. So we're going to pivot real quickly. Again, I got a lot of these to go over. So we can do this another time. As I said, if you want to see this on its own, or if you just want to see a couple of books here and there scattered on Hidden Gems, I can do that too and just make it a Hidden Gems category. You guys let me know which you prefer. Or I can just do this as a one-off special like I'm doing now. And just do it like, hey, we're just going to do another last issues, like a last to know, in a few weeks or a couple of months, and roll that way. Up to you guys, what you prefer. Let me know in the comments. But hitting up Marvel, since we haven't touched Marvel yet today, Darkhawk. I know there's a lot of Darkhawk fans, whether they be real Darkhawk fans or to be kind of funny and just be kind of cool. It's cool like Darkhawk. But Darkhawk issue 50 is the final issue of the run. And it's another one to worth your time. Look, it says right, this is it, final issue. I always like it when it has it on the cover that's the final issue, because then it gives you a sense that it is the end, and they kind of knew it was coming. Round number here, so that's a good thing too. Copies of this selling for $20, 65, 35, best offer on $50. So kind of a wide range in that 20 to 65 kind of area, but by and large, it's in the ballpark of what a lot of these books are. Asking prices, I found a couple examples, $50 to $60. So $50 to $60 raw ain't too bad if you could find this Darkhawk number 50. As I said, and if you find the last couple issues too, so I'd say like 48, 49, they're not going to be worth 50 to 60, but you might be able to get that kind of $20 and $30 maybe out of those, maybe just 15, but still, if you find them in the cheap boxes, it still might be worth grabbing. But number 50 is the final one to know. Next up, this is the book you guys probably already know about. And that's what some of this list is going to be ones you already know. Like I thought about ones I've not only covered before that you probably already know, like last G.I. Joe 155, Transformers, 82, Power Girl 27, which is also, these are things I also already covered on some of the shorts that I did. But just because you already know these books doesn't mean we can't just take a look, take a market check on where these things are. Because a book like this, yes, I knew Akira 38 was the final issue of Akira, even when I found it. I don't know, it's maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I found this for $1. Found this in a dollar box. It was a decent copy. It wasn't in like a 9.8 or anything. I'd probably say it was a very fine. There was like a decent tick in the cover. This is a square bound, if you didn't know, by the way, too. It's thicker, almost like prestige format, cardstock type of cover, so it's not going to lend itself to pressing. So what you get is kind of what you get. But like I said, I found one for $1, but I quickly flipped it for like $80, like after a few days, because I was happy to find it. I was like, ooh, well, what can I get for it? And at the time, I think it was like $120 book. But since, like I said, mine was a little damaged, I still ended up getting $80 for it. Granted, I probably should have kept it. Now I kind of regret giving it up, but I don't have the rest of the run, so it really didn't have a lot of emotional value to me. So it was just a quick little find, and that's sometimes what you do. I had fun doing that. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I used to love digging and then going and flipping a book for what I found it. Found something for $1 and could get $80 for it. It felt like a good weekend. That said, where are we at now, and why do I regret selling my copy for $80? Well, it's because copies now of Akira 38 are selling for $200 raw. All of those are $200. And granted, some of these, and one of them's fine. Another one's listed as near mint. So it really doesn't matter. The condition here, this is not an easy one to find. You're getting a few bucks if you can find it. So you're probably not going to find this for cheap, but it's just worth knowing. So that's why I'm sharing it with you. Asking prices again, $400, $300, $400 for the last few issues. But again, this is a very expensive book, and you probably already knew it, and shops probably already know it. So finding one for cheap is not going to be easy. I'm not saying this is going to be easy. I'm not saying any of these books are going to be easy to find for cheap. I'm just trying to make you aware of it so you know to look for them, because I look for them, and I figured, sometimes you find them, sometimes you don't. So it's just good to know, just good information to have. I'm just trying to expand your mental Rolodex of comics to know, and help your collecting, and hopefully you find some of this stuff. And if you find any of it, please tag me on Instagram. I appreciate it. I love seeing like your guys' finds and pickups, and I'm actually going to run with that idea. So on Dollar Bin Digging going forward, so we're going to start giving away some prizes. So I'm going to start giving away some prizes if you guys start finding some of the oddball things I'm throwing at you to go look for in Dollar Bin Digging. So we'll get to that this Thursday. It's an idea I had. I ran it by my wife. I was like, what do you guys think? It's probably fun, right? We'll handle that in a couple of days. But for now, I got one more book to cover, and then we'll wrap this show up for today. Sandman, Mystery Theater, issue 70, final issue of this. I don't want to say spin-off, but it's not Sandman that you know. It's not the Morpheus, I should say. This is the Sandman. It's more like the Gas Mask Golden Age type of that Sandman. But Sandman, Mystery Theater, issue 70, out of Vertigo, is another one that does all right if you could find it. So I wasn't aware that this one did as well as it did. I kind of stumbled into this one almost recently, but look, best $30, like best offer on $30, $28 sale. So it's like a $30 book for what it's sold for. Asking prices, however, more like $40, $50, $75. So once again, not an easy thing to find, but if you do find one, hopefully you find it for cheap. You might have found a nice little treasure for nothing. So that's why I'm trying to give you this information. I'm not trying to hoard it and keep it all to myself. I'm trying to share this with you so you guys know these books too. Because the whole point is these things already sell for a decent amount. I'm just reminding you or telling you if you didn't already know it. So you know it and know when you're digging that these are some things you can also look for. So hopefully you find it helpful. Hopefully you appreciate that. I appreciate you all watching and supporting the channel. I still have a heck of a lot of fun doing this. Thanks for stopping by and checking this out. As I said, sorry I hijacked your normal hidden gems just for a final issues, a last to know, but I had this whole thing made up and I felt like, you know what, I'm not using it, but I still have all these ideas that I got to work in somewhere. So I figured I'd pigeonhole them in here. So like I said, once again, if you want to see this as a regular part of Hidden Gems, I can work a couple in here and there each week as one of the other segments, like movie adaptations and all that stuff, last issue, later printings, etc. I can work it in for last issues. It could just be a little subcategory of Hidden Gems going forward, or we can do it like this. And I do like a dozen at a time because there's still plenty more to cover. I still got a whole another pile or two that we can do for this if you guys are interested in. So like I said, you let me know what you think and what you'd like to see. And with that all said, Chasing Ghosts will be up tomorrow, Tax Show on Wednesday, Dollar Bin Digging this Thursday, which I'll start announcing how I'm going to start doing some giveaways for Dollar Bin Digging. Friday is Mail Call Madness with Dom and Jedi. Live show now every Friday. Saturday night, also a live show, Saturday night special. So check out Kyle and the boys. Saturday, Tales from the Dark Side of Star Wars show, also live. And then we come back on Monday for Hidden Gems, etc. Shorts hitting every day. Members only content dropping a couple times a week. I'm shooting for Mondays and Thursdays, but where my free time lies is where they'll end up hitting. But hopefully, again, like I said, you're on board for all of this. And I'll work in the oddball video game and toy video where I can. But this is just there's so much to do. So much to do and so little time. And with that all said, thanks again. I'll be back soon with some more content. All right, later.